Christopher, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast today. How you doing?
I'm going well, thank you.
No, good, good. Yeah, I'm really grateful to have you as a guest. And I'll just kind of go through your brief background before we get into it. So you started out in business admin. You earned a master's, BSBA in 3.5 years, MBA in 2 years. You was a controller for a worldwide software company. You was CFO of a $30 million company, I think it was. You had an accident that occurred in your life, which we'll kind of go into. But you have a background in law enforcement for 20 years. And you've recently, you began your own private security company, and now you help entrepreneurs and coach people and that kind of thing. Like, I'll first kind of go into, like your background, how you kind of started out. How did you kind of like, go through that, and then the accident and where you are now?
Well, so basically what happened was grew up strong Polish background. Everybody, you work hard, you go to school, you get your education, and you have kids, support a family, whatever. And then, but I always knew at a young age I was kind of different. I was starting businesses like 10 years old. I would get some, go down, shovel snow, get 5-6 houses, get the other kids to do it, charge 5, give them 2, kind of thing. So I've always had that entrepreneur spirit, but it just over time I just kind of followed that whole path. So went to school, I got my BA and my BSBA in 3.5 years. Then I got my MBA, and I was just going down that path of, hey, you got to work, you got to do it 9 to 5 and whatever. But in the back of my mind, I've always had this entrepreneur spirit. And because it's the way, like, I'll drive down the road and I'll think about 4 or 5 things that may work, that may not, but that's kind of like all, the way my mind worked. Well, one day I was the CFO of a company, and we had a domestic husband came in, tried to beat up his wife. And I knew at a young age I wanted to be the police, but the police didn't pay well, and it wasn't what, my parents and my family wanted for me. They wanted more. This incident happened, and I'm like, you know what? I got to go do it. I have to do it. I don't want any regrets. So I did, and I went, and my first year's salary was my annual bonus as a CFO. So that was a big financial hit, but it was a passion. And then, just like everybody, most cops, that we have to go out and we got to get a part-time job, help make ends meet. Well, I noticed when I was working security, that I can do things, better, cheaper, and produce a better product for the clients I was working for. So I did. I started my own company 12 years ago, and knock on wood, it's been successful. And subsequently, I was doing that, full-time policeman. I retired from the police department up in Illinois after 21 years, and I took a job as a policeman down here in Florida. And now I'm at the point where, I did that. I was able to go through and work a full-time job. And it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's, police work, or you're an accountant or a marketer or whatever. But I kind of feel I kind of went through all the bumps and bruises and, the wreckage of trying to do stuff on my own, where, and working a full-time job. So I just kind of thought that, what, I could help other people do this. And that's kind of like why I started the Coaching Cop, because I think people can and should reach out for their dreams. And trust me, I've had plenty of failures too. I mean, I bought a company that didn't really work out. I started some other things that really didn't work out. But I really think people can do both. It's just a matter of how you do it. It's a matter of how you talk to your partner. I mean, my wife thinks I'm absolutely nuts. She has no idea like where I came from. She has no idea. She's like, dude, you're like from, a Jupiter or something. She goes, I mean, because she just doesn't. So you have to have the support of people too. And it's about how to talk to them, because you hear a lot of people start a business, it becomes successful. They get divorced, or, I don't understand you or whatever. And I think it's a lot of underlying things that I think people need to get help with that they don't know. Like, you can go anywhere on the internet and find, okay, you start an LLC, you start a C Corp, whatever. You can find all that stuff on the internet, but it's actually how to apply it to get it done. And really, it's really the basis of getting it through and reaching where you want to be.
Yeah, no, most definitely. I think, like you said, coming from that, that background and starting out early by doing those difficult jobs like shoveling snow and these things that most people probably wouldn't do, and having that entrepreneurial drive in you, and having that work ethic as well, and just establishing that and doing those jobs, and then getting into working for businesses, but that knowing deep down inside there's something else, like a calling to do other things.
Right. And I think one of the biggest things is just you have to learn yourself. You have to learn what your parameters are. You have to learn what you're good at, what you're not at. And I'm just not talking about business. I'm talking about, even in your personal life. Like, I am not good at, like, if I don't write it down, like, I am not good at saying, hey, let's all go for ice cream, or let's all go for I'm not good at that. But if I write it down, like a lot of people, like, father-daughter date night with Debbie, or whatever it is, it's learning yourself that that's what I need. And even when you have somebody come in, like the first time it happened, Debbie's like, you got to write that down. Like, yeah, I do. That doesn't mean I love you any less, or I don't want to spend time with you, but this is just the way my body and my brain works. So it's just being able to know yourself, which I personally think is one of the biggest challenges, because, and to this day, you have to look in the mirror and say, I'm good at that, and I'm not good at this. And I need to do this. I need to hire somebody to do that. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges, that people just need to have somebody to bounce off of, and just be honest and say, like, for me, I mean, I'm not really good at sales. I'm a cop. I go in, I tell you, my sales pitch is, hey, yeah, we're the best. Buy it, sign here. I don't, I just know that. But so I have to have people help me, and I need people to do that for me. So I think a big part of this procedure and this process is just really sitting and looking in a mirror and saying, hey, yeah, I'm good at this, and I'm not so much good at that.
Yeah, I think, like you said, that big things like being accountable and like you said, knowing yourself and telling yourself you deserve this and you can do this, and having that mindset. And I think, like what you said, doing the things that you've done and the things you've achieved, to get a degree, to work your way up in a company, and to be that kind of figure, you have to have that certain mindset where you believe in yourself and tell yourself this is possible. And
Right.
like you said, like you have that kind of mindset where you might be thinking of like multiple different things at once. And
Right.
some people, like, just work like that. And like you said, your partner, doesn't think that way. But having that understanding from your partner, and them supporting you in whatever you're doing, I think is important as well. And so when you was in like the business, you mentioned like you saw some guy like beat up his wife or something like that, and you knew that you needed to go into the police, but like you said, it wasn't paying enough. So that must be like a difficult, like doing that police work and knowing you could be getting more doing something else, but deep down, it's what you actually want to do.
Correct. And that's why I knew I wanted to do it. But in the same token, I didn't want to live check to check. We grew up. I saw my parents working hard, and did that. I mean, everything. I mean, I had a great childhood. But my dad always told me, he goes, when you go through life and stuff, and you run into difficult situations or different people, pick out what you don't want to do and gear your life towards that. And I knew, watching my parents struggle, that I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to go check to check, but yet I wanted to be the police, and I had to fill that gap from the monetary standpoint. And that was really the drive for it. Besides my passion to wanting to be an entrepreneur, that what drove me is that the monetary gap. And I knew that, so I had to pick out something that I knew I was good at and that I would have fun at. So it was just, I had both passions, and I just went for them both.
And I think, like, as well, like, just like questions come to mind. When you kind of enrolled as a police officer and you passed and you got into the police world, what was it like when you kind of, say, went out for the first time, and you say you've got your your approval and you've passed and you're going out to work. How was that? How was that transition? What was that like?
Oh, it was awesome. It really was. I mean, because you work for a goal and you reach your goal, and then you're doing whatever. You start an architectural business or a marketing business and you get your first client. When I reached that goal and I got my certificate and I went through field training, I was on my own in the car by myself. It's such a good feeling to know that all the hard work that you put in came to fruition, and now here I am. And then it was so powerful, because then you knew that now what's the next step? I can do anything now. And it really pays off. And really, and again, and just even going through the process, hey, I made it this far. That's really like that kind of makes you stronger, mentally stronger, because no matter what you encountered, you overcome that, and you reach your goals.
Yeah, and I think like you must gain that resilience as well in being able to deal with, those situations. And I think, like you said, that stress and managing, like that process in training and going through those hurdles. And it's like
Right.
if you can get through the things in the past, and you can get through whatever next, if that makes sense. And
Right.
was it was there any like what I mean, obviously as a police officer you encounter very stressful situations and there's a lot of circumstances which are dangerous. Like, is there anything that you think challenged you in any situations where you kind of you were pressed and you had to push through that?
Every day. I mean, every day, because I think what people have to understand is that most of the time when somebody calls the police, it's not on a very good day. And I think every day you need to you face your fears, and you find your solution. And that's the kind of the way I've done my business, and I've done my police work, that we're here. And not every day in business is do you have like crazy, a lot of it's rewarding. But in the police world, every day you go in, there is a problem, whether it's a small one, which is no big deal to you, but it is a big deal to I'll call them customers or clients, or it's big, and you have to push through that, because you just can't go, I can't do this. I don't know what to do. You've got to come up with some type of resolution. And I think what I've learned over time is that no matter what you face, there's a solution or a way to a solution. And I think that's on a daily basis. And even when you're going through the door, when the boogeyman's on the other side, you don't know what's on the other side, but guess what? You took an oath and you have to push through that. And I'm not going to sit here and say, no, it's not scary. It's freaking scary. But you took an oath to protect people that can't protect themselves, and you just have to push through that fear.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think, like you said, like you're almost like a firefighter every day, aren't you, really? Like you said, there's a problem every day when you're a police officer. There's always going to be something that you're going to have to sort out. And, like I said, I've got friends who were in the police or in the military, and they talk about slowing things down, giving that element of time and distance. And sometimes, like we see the situations in the news and media where police officers done something, but it's that I think they say that they need more training on particular things, so they're able to manage their emotions, to slow things down and not react. Or like, have you ever kind of encountered those situations where you've had to kind of separate, slow things down, or reassess situation?
100%. And 100%. And I think that they hit the nail right on the head. You just got to slow down for a second, and whatever it is, write it out, take a breather, go for a run, come back, whatever. But very few things have to be done right now. Now, there are situations in the police world that you got like less than a half a second to react and do your thing. But most of the time, take a breath, slow down, gain your time and distance. And just like business, slow it down, gain your time and distance, write down what the facts are. In the police world, you're processing the facts, and then you come up with a solution. But I think that's the best thing that that they say is just take the time, slow down, and really look at it. Because when you have emotion and you're breathing heavy, or then you're panting and you got this going, and then it floods your emotions, and you make bad choices. Slow it down, Okay. And write it out, think it out, and you'll get through it.
And also, like I forgot to mention at the start, but you have a podcast called Free Cops Talk. Like how do you kind of set that up, and like, you know, how's that going?
So it's going okay. Everybody tells me that we've been around. We've been doing it for just coming up on a year now, and we get about anywhere between 400 to 500 downloads a week, which everybody tells me is great. But with my entrepreneur mindset, it would be a Joe Rogan by now or whatever, you know. But it's going well. I just want to keep pushing to try and get out to people. And what happened there is I was talking to my business coach, and it was the whole time, this whole George Floyd thing was going on in Minnesota where the copper killed that guy. And we had a long discussion. We actually, went over our regular time. And he was telling me a story about his bass player. He's a black guy in his band. He plays jazz. And he was telling me about, they had the conversation about this whole thing. And he was telling me about how this bass player feels weird going into a grocery store as a black guy. I'm like, what are you talking about? Now, I'm the police. I'm in the police for 21 years outside Chicago. And I'm like, dude, you're a black guy going to the grocery store. Well, anyway, longer conversations and longer discussions and stuff. It kind of dawned on me, like, there's a whole misconception about what is going on between the reality between the police and the civilians is not what the media portrays. Okay. It's a lot stronger than that. And what's coming to fruition is that all they want is a voice. They have that voice, but it's stifled by the media. So I started this podcast to kind of start just opening the dialogue, like what we expect on a traffic stop, what you should do, what you expect. Like, for example, a lot of people don't know in the United States, when you sign your driver's license, so being able to drive is a privilege, it's not a right. When you sign that, there's a lot of things that you have to do, as when a policeman tells you, get out of the car, have your driver's license, blah, blah, blah. So, we can go through the whole thing. But just opening that, talking about that for 15 minutes, people are like, oh, I didn't know you, I didn't know you had to get out of the car but guess what? That just might have saved 50 people from getting hurt. Because now, okay, even though I may not agree with the traffic stop or whatever, you have to by law abide by the lawful orders and then complain later. It's just those little things where, and then when the rumors or the media will get out like, oh my God, they're dragging this guy out of the car and they're beating him and all this other stuff. When that all it is the understanding of what we as police officers expect you to do in a traffic stop, whether you're carrying a firearm, you're not carrying a firearm, you have like whatever. Just this is the way it's going to go. Now, at the end, whether you're going to get a ticket or not, I can't help you with that. But from you getting hurt and a policeman getting hurt and somebody going to jail for a speeding ticket, this is what we expect. But it's just getting those little things out there help. And also talking to people. We had guys on there that committed murder and what they think they can do to help. And I think that gives us as policemen a better understanding of what they're feeling. And that helps me, going into neighborhoods or different cultures and stuff by having a little bit more empathy. I've always had empathy and compassion, and that's one of the reasons I took this job. But it's just, it's about being able to ask questions. And I have no problem going into a black neighborhood or a Hispanic neighborhood or Korean or whatever, and just asking, is this part of your culture? Or, if this is part of your culture, okay, I get it, but it's not okay here or whatever. And I think just by going through this process and learning each other, I think that's going to make the world a better place. And that's kind of why I started it. And I really hope it gets out there more and more, because it's so silly about everything that's happening and the way the world is turning. People are dying, coppers are dying, civilians are dying, innocent people are dying, people are getting hurt, all in my opinion, or all for false advertising of what the reality is.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think, like you mentioned, it's going in their backgrounds and kind of putting yourself in their shoes. and understanding their point of view and where they come from, and them understanding you and what you're trying to do and what's right and what's not. I think that's a big thing, isn't it? Understanding the people, the place, that environment,
Right.
breaking things down, like you mentioned, like with the guy, going to the grocery store kind of thing. And,
Right.
like when you mentioned the traffic stop, like obviously it's a bit different here in the UK. Obviously, the police will probably ask for your license and your details here, but like, um, I've heard that and I've seen videos online, and that moment is it's like one of the probably most dangerous moments, isn't it? Going up to the car
Yes.
because you got, especially if they got tinted windows, that kind of thing. If it's dark at night, it's all those elements kind of come into play, don't they? And it's much harder to probably determine what's going on in that vehicle or something like that. Um, so, like you said, that all those things are necessary, aren't they? And those steps and process, and you can probably break down if those things aren't being met that early on. You kind of probably have more of an idea something bad's probably going on, or there's a bit of suspicious activity. Um, but all of these things probably you can take away and apply to like life now in other situations, can't you? Through that kind of situational awareness and kind of thing.
Right. Right. And absolutely. And I think by being have that situational awareness and kind of keep knowing what's going on, it's it's it helps you because you are able to adjust whether you're going 100 miles an hour and you could back it off, okay, and go 20 miles an hour. And just like you said, so when you're walking up on a traffic stop, that's the most dangerous spot. That's where a lot of cops get killed. Well, if you could explain to somebody, hey, this is the most dangerous part, and I'm afraid until you and I talk to each other, they're like, okay. So literally, if I have my hands on the wheel, and you just make them understand, you have my hands on the wheel, I look ahead, what blah blah blah. This is going to make this encounter go best for anybody. And then taking the time when they have a question or concern, taking the time to talk to them about it. Whereas whereas in life you're trying to move on to the next thing, move on to the next thing. If you just slow that down a bit because somebody has a question or somebody needs to understand it in your mind, you're like, are you kidding me? Like, this is everyday stuff. Well, guess what? They don't encounter this every day, whether it's in business or in life. They don't encounter this. So take the time. I had a traffic stop for 20 minutes. We were discussing um, uh, uh, violence and all this other stuff and this lady thought I was just going to come up and shoot her. So I took that 20 minutes and then hopefully she'll tell 10 friends and she'll tell 10 friends. And I think it's the same thing in business. If you help people understand or you understand yourself and you could explain it to people, it just trickles. It's like ripples in the water. And I think it just goes hand in hand on a daily basis.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like you said it's that image, isn't it, of say the police or certain situations that have happened, and then people have kind of associated that kind of negative connotation with maybe the police in that area or just in general. But then, like you said, it's that kind of experience. People might say things which are false, and that's kind of like the thing in the media. But
Right.
then by that person having that positive, that normal experience, she can then tell 10 people or whoever else that it's not what it all kind of it seems in the media kind of thing. Because I think that's the issue with like the media and the police, and things can get twisted. I remember watching a really good documentary called Flint Town. I don't know if you ever saw that. It's that
Oh yeah,
town.
we had
Yeah,
one of the guys that was a cop there during that time was a cop, and we had him on our show. He's a good guy.
yeah. And that was really interesting to see that insights of like, what happens. And even within the police, like I remember there was like um was it the elections were happening and there was this kind of
Mm-hmm.
divide. So it's quite deep, isn't it, really? But it's good that with your show you can have this open conversation with different people, and people in the service and people who've kind of got a past probably experience of crime as well.
Right, right, and it's also learning other, like I said, learning other cultures and talk. We had a lady from the UK on our show. She was a cop for 20 some years, and it's just learning. Like, you guys call jail sweets. I'm like, a sweet, like that ain't no sweet. I don't know, just stuff like that. And but as funny it is to us in the UK, maybe over time that made people fight less because they think they're going, oh, they hear sweet, they're going to a hotel. Oh, maybe, I'm going to a hotel. I'm going to the Hilton. Like, here we're going, you're going to jail, bro. I mean, what, but it's just learning stuff like that. Well, maybe if we here start calling him sweets to a drunk guy, he's going to think that, oh, I'm going to go to a hotel and I'm not going to jail. So I think by opening and talking to all different cultures and stuff, I think it could learn and it can evolve.
Yeah, most definitely. I think it's interesting, when you hear stories from different cultures or you see how things are in certain places compared to others. And I think we've had issues in the UK with with police. I think there was I don't know if you heard about the COVID thing and the Met police. There was
Yeah.
like I won't get too much into it in politics, but our prime minister was like, partying during the COVID lockdowns, and then certain members of the Metropolitan Police in London. There was like people resign, lots of, but I think that's probably anywhere, isn't it? You get um, things happen in politics and the police, but I think like the general work of the police in America, especially, is very very difficult, and I think you're working very very hard to address certain things and to try and make a difference. And it's difficult when you have got the media and the conflict, and people have got certain assumptions when they've never been involved or probably spoken to a police officer.
Right. But even during those conflicts, to be honest with you, it's like if you and I were friends and we had a problem, what do? We sit down and we talk. If you have a problem with your partner, like when Debbie and I have a problem, sure, we argue and stuff. But guess what? At the end of the day, we sit down and we talk to each other. I think that whole COVID thing with all that other stuff, people just didn't want to sit down and come to a common goal and a common understanding of what really is going on. And again, not going to get into politics or whatever, but that is a perfect example of whoa, slow stuff down. And really, what is this doing? What is this? Because you have one side saying it's just the flu, you have one side saying this is the. So that is a perfect example of just slow it down. Everybody get around the table and let's get this thing done. Let's not take the attitude that this is my ball and let's go home. Nothing's going to come of that.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think that's the best thing, isn't it? Slowing things down and having that conversation and actually talking about it. I think, like you said, in relationships and even just in general, having that slowing things down, taking yourself out of that situation, well, taking, self out of that
Right.
situation and talking about it is important. And like
Right.
another thing as well, like you said you had some accident occurred in your life. Like what was that?
No. That wasn't an accident. It was just
Oh, right.
it was that domestic in my office.
Oh, that was the
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah. There was
So
a
so
situation.
so with that domestic that accident, like was that an employee came in to
Yes.
like beat up his
So an
wife?
employee, yeah. So an employee who worked for me, her husband, it was her husband or ex-husband, came in. He had an order of protection, and somehow he got in the building. I think he came through open door, and he confronts her. He confronts her in the office right outside my door. Well, I heard this, and somebody must have called the police. When they saw him coming through the plant. And long story short, cops show up. I'm out there. Gets a little messy for a while. But the coppers were so professional, and it could have went so many different ways, but they were so professional. And I'm like, you know what? It's time for me to go do that. Follow my passion and go do that.
And I think that's one of the qualities, isn't it? In an officer, and I think something that you've learned and what you applied is, remaining calm in tense situations and staying grounded and being able to deal with what's going on and have a positive outcome from that as
Right.
well. Like, do you like have any like role models like in life in general, or anyone you can kind of look up to, whether
Role
that what?
models, yeah. I have so many. But I think one of the role models, or my biggest role model, would be um, my dad and a counselor I had in high school. And they were like, it doesn't matter what you do, be the best you can and be okay with who you are, because they they did what they wanted to do in their timeline and their time frame and didn't really care about anybody else and what they thought. And I think that's huge because I I am the weird one. I mean, and I had to grow to be okay with it. I'm the one, like, nobody else will go down the block and think like, hey, that'd be a cool ice cream shop. Oh, that you could put a cleaners over there or a car wash over here or whatever. And to be able to embrace that, those are two guys in my life that really pushed me to be okay and reach your passion. And I think that's really powerful. It really is, because you have to be okay with who you are.
Yeah, no, I think they're great points. And I think, like, being comfortable in yourself, knowing yourself, being okay with who you are. And, none of us are perfect. We've all got our own ways and, things like that. But I think, like, being okay with who you are, and having, like you said, those people believe in you and tell you that, anything's possible, and, just go and do it, and not care about what other people think. And I think, a lot of people in life focus too far out there to what people
Right.
think, and probably don't do the things they probably could do.
Right. And I also think it helps you when you have that inner strength. It also helps you understand people. Like, we'll go to a call and, like, you run into some goth people, you know, yeah, and they start yelling at you. I'm like, hey, slow down. You guys we got a call for suspicious activity. What are you guys doing? Hanging out, listening to music? Okay. Well, you're here because I'm like, whoa, 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 hold on. Listen to me. You do you. Okay. You doing any illegal drugs? No. Okay. What else? You got loud music going? Okay. That's it. That's all. You do you. I think it also gives you that power to let people be themselves too, within your parameters. Like, for me, when I'm at work, as long as you're not breaking the law, you do you. Do you. I don't care. I don't care. My job is here to enforce the law. My job is not here to judge you. And if I don't judge myself and I'm okay with myself, I'm not going to judge you. And you, as long as you're good with yourself, God bless. Go on.
Yeah, and I think that's, like you said, having that open approach, isn't it? And seeing that person for who they are, and just weighing up the scenario of what's going on. Because, like you said, you've probably been briefed on what's going on. So you go in that situation with what you've been told, don't you? So you kind of pull those pieces together to kind of see really what's going on.
Right. Right. And then being honest when you're there too, going, hey, I'm here because we got this information. Well, you're here because of this. No, I'm not. I'm here because this call came in. I'm here to address it. There's nothing illegal going on. Okay. So I'm going to leave. Just be careful, whatever. Make sure you don't do this or step out of the boundaries here. Okay. And then I'm leaving. And it also opens up a lot of dialogue too, and a lot of conversations. Because when you tell them, hey, listen, you do you, they like look at you. Like, we had a perfect example. They were, I think they were like goth kids or whatever. I'm like, okay, you guys do you. I didn't say anything about their makeup or what they were wearing or whatever. I'm like, all right, guys, have fun. They're like, what? What, you're not going to question us? No, about what? You already told me. You're not doing anything illegal. There's no evidence here that says you're doing anything illegal. They called because there was suspicious activity. There's nothing going on. I'm going to go get coffee. You do you. I'm going to do me. And it actually ended up being like a 10, 15-minute conversation just about that. Listen, you do you. And it does really, really help open up lines of communication. I really do. And when you understand people, that to understand them, to let them be them, it really helps.
Yeah, that's it. I think, like, understanding people and, allowing them to be themselves, and you being yourself, and just talk to them like people, I think, is the main thing. Because that's, we're all connected, aren't we? We're all human beings.
Right.
And, you listen to them and give them that space. I think it is important. And, like, do you have any, like, favorite books or anything? Do you read at all?
Oh my God. All my books are on tape. So, because I'm always running around doing stuff, but I do take the time. I do have a couple of books right now. What am I reading? Or what am I listening to? Oh, I'm listening to, oh my God, what's the name of it? The Tony Robbins book about health. And I am re-listening to Start With Why. Those are the two books I'm listening to right now.
Nice. Is that Start With Why, Simon Sinek? Simon Sinek.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's really good. He's got some good content. He's very I like his work, like the millennials, or people like my kind of generation. Like, he talks a lot of about millennials and workplace and business, doesn't he? I think quite a lot, which
Yep.
is, I think, a
Yep.
big thing. And I think you've probably, have you seen business change like in the,
Oh God,
recently?
yeah. Oh yeah. And again, that's just one of the things was what that you got to be in the pulse of what's changing, because even in the police world, 20 years ago as compared to today, I mean, why aren't we sitting down with the millennials or whatever you want to call them, or the new kids, and going, hey, what makes you tick? What makes you work? What makes you want to come here on a daily basis? Well, it's time off. Well, then you're in the wrong industry. Okay. Because you got to show up and you're not going to work remotely. Or it's, I would like to have a gym membership, or, on midnights, we would like to have a place where we can go sleep for an hour or whatever. I think if it was just, a lot of that book taught me to just go talk to them and ask them, like, what makes you tick? Because every year, every generation or whatever you want to call it changes, but what makes you tick? And it's the little stuff. And I think that that helps just by sitting down and talking. And you know what? We've gone so far from that. Everybody's just reacting instead of sit down and talking. I think that's a huge thing, is that you got to just, you can't react. You got to talk, because you got to listen. And even if you don't agree, who cares? Who cares? It doesn't matter. It's your opinion and my opinion. That doesn't mean we have to hate each other. It just means you have yours and I have mine. But nobody wants to talk anymore. They just want to react and go.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think like that's kind of like what happens, especially in social media, happens on the internet, and I think probably one of the issues with social media is that people can react, and then I think it's some of the things that we see in the media, and certain attacks or certain things happening because people might have said something on social media and someone's got stressed or really angry, and then
Right.
over time that's kind of drip 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 drip, and then they kind of explode and they go off and go do something stupid. I mean, have you
Right.
kind of seen that, or have you kind of
Oh my
in
God.
situations like in the police where you have to kind of go to something?
Oh yeah. I was just looking at the name of the book I'm reading or listening to right now is Life Force by Tony Robbins. Um, but as far as social media goes, I think social media is a fun tool. I think it's a great tool, but I also think it's where a lot of people hide behind. And then they bully people, and a lot of the young people take it seriously. And when you have kids hanging themselves because they don't have the same purse as as Natalie, or the same purse as somebody else, I think it has to be. I don't even say monitored, but I think your parents do have to be involved. And again, I look at that going, I may like that, whatever it is, watch, car, whatever, marketing, and I look at it as, I don't have it yet. Don't have it yet. But I also, but we're an adult, we're adults, but you also don't let people bully you either. You don't, and I think as kids, social media, they take that very, very seriously. And I don't really think they need people in the background going, listen, it's not really that big of a deal. It's not, it's a purse. It's a car. You're 17. Okay. You're not going to have a $5,000 purse. Now that doesn't mean you can't get it, but put that on your vision board and go get your Louis Vuitton or whatever. I think we just have to take that, from a different angle. It's not going anywhere. It's powerful. It's a powerful tool when it's used for the right reasons.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think that's a great point, when it's used for the right reasons and, using it to put content out there, supporting other people, maybe a business or whatever it is. But like you said, if you have that mindset of saying, I will have that one day, that's something I would like, then you're kind of flipping it around, aren't you, really? Which is, what people should do. And, it
100%.
must be, rewarding, talking to people and helping them now, and being a mentor and coach for entrepreneurs and people in business, and offering your advice and your experience on things.
Oh, it's awesome. It's awesome to be able to say, hey, I did it, I survived it, and I can help you do it. And you're going to make it through it. you're going to, or if just somebody needs to call and cry. I mean, hey, sometimes that has to be done too. But to be able to let them do, talk, act as they want, and point them in the right direction, and keep them focused on what they really want to do, it's huge. It makes me feel really, really good on a daily basis.
No, that's awesome. And like as well, like the situations that you've been involved in, and being in the police and being in all these different situations that test you, do you think like it's kind of made you think and behave a certain way, like in society, like in a security kind of way, like if you go to an event or certain situations you go into? Because I kind of go to situations where, say, crowds of people, and you see like security staff and they're just kind of letting people in or not really doing checks. Do you kind of,
Right.
is it kind of made you kind of look at the world in a certain way, or kind of take more precautions
I,
or anything?
I look at the world as everybody's the boogeyman, and my kids hate it. My wife hates it. I don't. I go to the restaurant. I'm the typical cop. I sit with my back to the wall. I see their front door on the way there. I know, how far in the direction to the nearest hospital. What's faster? If somebody gets hurt, is it faster putting in my cars or faster calling in an ambulance? Where the doctors are at, where the fire extinguishers are at, where the exits are at. I am. I'm in a yellow state of paranoia, because of everything going on in the world. But yeah, it has changed. It has changed me in regards to, you're just waiting for, you're waiting for the elephant to enter the room, and then you have to take care of business at any point in time. Yeah.
And I think like, even those experiences, I think like it is important to kind of think in that way, even if people haven't had that background, to an extent, if that makes sense, like to be sensible
Sure.
to weigh things up. And obviously,
Yeah.
depend on, because obviously they're not had years of experience like yourself. They're not probably, general people aren't probably going to be thinking that way or as much. But I think if you've been involved in certain things in the past, it does kind of make you think that way. Because I had situations in school where, I was involved in fights and things, and I took after myself. So I'm quite streetwise coming from the city that I grew up. Whereas I think that's probably a thing as well, isn't it? That your environment has a part to play in who we are. Do you think? Because like you worked
Oh,
in like Chicago, and I know Chicago is
yeah.
like a very, very rough place.
Yeah. And I think, and I agree with you. I think everybody should have a little bit of that, because it's just the world we live in. I mean, look at the school shootings, or getting, the shootings in the bars or whatever. I just think it's the world we live in, unfortunately. And we can do a whole show on how we can prevent that. But it's just a world that we live in, and you have to be super conscious for you, family, friends, doing that, because in my opinion, just like you have a designated driver, you should have a designated security person. And not that they're going to get involved with, going fisticuffs with somebody, but to get out. It's like when I do executive protection, we get there and they're like, okay, if a fight breaks out, like, whoa. Okay. That's not the object. The object is, here's what's going to happen. If a fight breaks out, I'm going to scoop you up. We're going to run out the back door, jump in a car, and we're gone. That's the way this works. And I think people have to be aware of that, when you have that designated security person, they have to know how that works. And unfortunately, it's just the way of the world right now. It's just, like I said, it's just like having a designated driver.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, like you said, it's the way of the world, and people need that protection, don't they? Given whatever their status or scenario. Because I think there's another thing as well. With stand-up comedians, I saw. Do you see that Dave Chappelle? He had some random guy jump out trying to
Yeah.
stab him with it. Was a gun that had a knife on it or something like that?
I don't know if it was a knife or he just wanted to tackle him. But
Yeah.
yeah, this guy jumped on stage. Now, honestly, that's a whole security thing that now they have to revamp it. Like, now they're going to have people in front of the stage making sure that doesn't happen. But it's you don't know, and it can happen anywhere.
And I suppose you have to always adapt to situation. If things happen, you have to put different things in place and different training and stuff like that. It's just how it kind of like
Mhm.
rolls out.
Right.
Um,
It's just like life. Everybody needs to adapt.
mm,
It's just different levels. Got
mm,
to adapt daily. It's just different levels. Like when
mm.
your bus breaks down going to work. or you're on the train or the tube, as you call it. If it breaks down, you got to adapt. You got to figure that out. Like I've got to get to work. I've got to get to the doctor. I've got to get my kids to school. Okay. Everybody, because I don't think a lot of people give themselves credit. Like I'll have to adapt to maybe a situation in causing gunfire or a stabbing or a murder or whatever. Okay, that's on a different level, but still, it's the same. It's the same action. You have to adapt to your environment. So if the train's late, you have two kids you got to get to school, and then you got to get to work. You adapt. You find a bus, you find a cab, you find an Uber, you find a ride, you call your dad, whatever. You adapt to it. And I don't think people give themselves a lot of credit when it's out of their comfort zone. Like I know how to take care of my kids. I know how to adapt to that. Or, the milk is spoiled, but I got to go out and people adapt every day, but I just don't think they have enough self-confidence to say, no matter what comes through that door or what hits me in the face, I can adapt and I can get through it. They just have to have more confidence in themselves because they do it every day. I just don't think they realize it because I think what happens, it becomes a habit, and a habit that they don't recognize, but a habit nonetheless, because they do it every day.
And I think that's one of the big important things as being a human is stepping out your comfort zone and developing, those good habits and recognizing maybe what are bad habits. Because I think, like you said, people probably get comfortable, and if they don't push themselves out that box, then they kind of don't grow and don't evolve, and probably not able to cope with certain things if they happen because they don't know how to deal with pressure.
Right. I mean, and look at what people, when they don't go out of their comfort zone, they wake up at 6, they go to work, they come home, they take care of their kids, they feed their kids, they go to bed, they do the same thing because they don't want to go out of their comfort zone. And that's okay for people. I mean, that's okay for some people. And that's the route they want to, that's what they want to take. God bless them, just be a good human being. But other people, the only way you're going to grow is to step out of your comfort zone. And a lot of it is in your head. It seems very hard. And it's just a lot of overcome and adapt to what's going to happen.
Yeah, most definitely. And like, what if you could say give any advice to people, wanting to do well in life or to push through things? Like, what would you say? Like, someone.
If you're going to push through stuff, I would just say trust yourself. Trust yourself. And if you have time to look at some different outcomes and stuff like that, don't focus on the negative list, focus on the positive list. Because as humans, when you're coming into your comfort zone, your con list is you're going to make stuff up for your con list because you don't want to go through that door or you don't want to take that step. And your pros list is going to be like 4 things, even though by changing a couple words that those lists can be opposite. What I would say is, if it's not going to hurt you physically, it is not going to financially ruin you, then you have to have the confidence enough in yourself to look at that and say, I can do this. Because no matter what you do in life, and I don't care if it's entrepreneurship or just life. I mean, like, look at, if you have a kid and then the kid says, hey, I want to have a sleepover. I'm like, well, okay. You know what that's like for me, letting my daughter go to a sleepover? I mean, I'm printing everybody and, I'm like, cameras, so it's just something out of your comfort zone that you're going to do this on a daily basis. Just some things become harder, and you've got to take that time to say, okay, what is the worst, and make the list, or take the time to absorb it and make a decision. But don't create negative stuff to talk yourself out of it. Create more positive stuff. Or what I tell people is, make your list and then look at your con list. Look at the con list and go through and change each word on there. Pick a word, move a word to make it positive. Then you're going to look at your list, and your pros list is bigger than your con list. And now there's only one thing separating you and where you want to go, which is your own fear. And I could tell you about that all day. I'll be your wingman. I'm right behind you. I got your 6. We're going to go through that door, but you have to step through that door. And that takes a ton of courage, and it's a lot. And for some people to do that, I mean, I commend people highly that just take the chance. I really do.
Yeah, no, I think that's really well said. And I think, like you said, having that courage to just go through with whatever that thing is in whatever situation that you want to do or needs to be done. And, like you said, switching those cons to positives and breaking it down, kind of peeling those layers back and breaking it down. And like you said, some people might talk themselves out of it because they'll say focus on the negative side of things or what ifs and that kind of thing. And
Right.
they don't do anything.
Right. Well, and here's a perfect example, like getting on other people's podcasts. I'm not the world's best speaker. And like today we had a little bit of a glitch with Zoom or whatever. I'm like, maybe it won't work. Maybe it won't. Maybe I can get out of this because it's scary. Like I've been doing this a year and it's still scary to get on to get on somebody's show. But you just get that little ripple of like, maybe this won't work. This might be okay. But deep down, you're like, okay, and then, we got the email from you and we got together, but the larger part of me said, I know I want to do this because the outcome for me is going to be more tremendous of what my passion is, that I face that fear. And I get on here and I do the best I can. And again, I'm not the world's the best speaker. I'm just not. But I have to meet my fear every time I do this. Every time I get on somebody's show, I have to know in my heart that this is the best thing for me and for other people. And it happens to everybody. It's just stepping through that door.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I can definitely relate to that same thing that you said as well. And I think it's like you said, it's showing up, being accountable, and pushing through that fear. Don't worry about
Right.
dogs. Fine, I've got dogs. So it's like, yeah, pushing through that fear, showing up, and sometimes, like you said, that greater value of something being bigger than ourselves and knowing that it's going to benefit other people and work out, both sides. I think that's like a driving force. And as
Yeah.
well, like, is there anything that you're working on? Anything you want to promote? Where can people find you on social media, your website, kind of thing?
Yeah, actually, right now I'm just working on my coaching business and the podcast. So the coaching business is called The Coaching Cop. You can email me at thecoachingcop@gmail.com, or you can go on the website, thecoachingcop.com. And the podcast is Three Cops Talk, the number Three Cops Talk. And we have a website and the same thing. Email me, threecopstalk@gmail.com. And again, there's nothing that I won't discuss or I won't help with you on either platform. And I'm working on getting on some free content to people via YouTube. I have a face for radio, my mom said, so I really don't know how YouTube's going to work for me, but I'm working on trying to get some free content out to help people through on a business level and a life level, just to make the world a better place.
No, I love everything that you're doing, and I think you've got a lot of passion and a lot of work experience and a lot of things that you can kind of bring to the plate to help other people. And I really enjoyed talking to you, and I wish you all the best in everything that you do. And I'll be sure to try and help connect you with people that I know, so you can go on their show, and I'll promote your content as well.
Same here. And I really appreciate you taking the time, and congratulations on your show taking off so well. That's great. And taking the kind time to let me come on and kind of preach a little bit and let people get to know me so we can kind of make this world a better place together. I really appreciate it.
No, you're most welcome. You're most welcome. And, I'm really grateful to have you on my show. And yeah, I look forward to, doing this again sometime.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. No worries. Take care.
Bye-bye.